pull up my Goodreads or else I like kind of don't remember what I read, to be honest. First things first, let me acknowledge a few things. First, you can see this awkward sunburn I have from today not evenly applying my sunscreen. Second, what is this, you may be asking? Is that what I think it is? And it is. It is Finnick Odair in the Hunger Games. Rest in peace. So this is what I read in June. I really have not read this many books, I think since I was in like elementary school. I only read 6 books. I only read 6 months. I only read 6 books in June, but like collectively how much I've been reading this past year being post-grad is quite significant. When I was in school, like in high school and in college, I would only ever read nonfiction for fun because I think like it somehow still had to be educational for me. Not that fiction is still educational, but like I felt like I had to be learning applied knowledge, if that makes sense. Anyways, since post-grad, specifically since like 2026, I've been reading so much more. My Letterboxd stats have been down. That's because my Goodreads stats have been up. Okay, so here is what I read in June. My first book, I don't have it physically because I'm lending it to a friend, is Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It by Brooke Averick, and I have been waiting for this book for at least like a year now. Like since Brooke announced that she was writing a book, I've been so excited about it and my expectations were met. I feel like I'm already really parasocial with Brooke and Connor, and this made me even more parasocial with Brooke. It is about Phoebe Berman, who is about to turn 30 years old, and her goal is to lose her virginity before she turns 30. So the book follows the month leading up to her turning 30 and her journey to lose her virginity. She kind of has 3 love interests, and I thought this was really good because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know who she was going to end up with. There was a really good twist that wasn't cheesy and it wasn't like too crazy. It was such a phenomenal debut novel, and I'm not, like I said, I'm like not like a huge reader, so I can't, I guess, speak too much to author quality, but I think Brooke Averick just, she knows what she's doing, and she wrote such a great character who you just were attached to instantly. All of her characters were great. I loved it. I breezed through this. I read it in like 2 days or something, maybe 3. So good. And I heard it's gonna be a Netflix adaptation. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully, I don't need books to be movies. I think this one would be a fun one. And as long as Brooke has her stamp of approval, I'm in, because I love Phoebe and Brooke. Love ya. I gave Phoebe Berman a 5 out of 5. Second book is Rush Week by Michelle Brandon. This is about 4 sorority alumni who 5 years post-grad are coming back to University of Alabama for a sorority event because the sorority has dug up a time capsule, and in that time capsule was like a burn book of sorts where these girls and everyone in their chapter had written like dark secrets in this burn book, and now it's being dug up. The time capsule wasn't supposed to be dug up for 100 years, so they all thought they were safe, but now it's getting dug up early, so then they all have to come back to University of Alabama and figuring out, because they're being blackmailed. So they come back to find who's blackmailing them, and then of course there's lots of drama. The only reason I picked this book up is because I had just finished Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It. I was in Seattle for Katie's grad, and I needed a book for the way home, and right outside of Katie's apartment was a free little library, and this was in there, and me and Jess were reading like about the author. And on the back it says, surrounded by palm trees and wild animals, she lives in the Sunshine State with her husband, daughters, and 2 slobbery doggies. And me and Jess just were just laughing so hard at that, at the slobbery doggies part, because me and Jess are stupid together. Anyways, and I was like, sure, I'll read it. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. It was almost 400 pages, and literally by the end, I could not tell the 4 girls apart. Like, I knew that they each had their own things. Like, one was a thief, one was like in this politics realm, the other one was a ginger, like, but I didn't know which one was which, and then I kept getting them all confused, and their husbands in their drama. I thought it was really cheesy. There was so much like TikTok lingo, and not even like slang, like literally TikTok lingo, and like we're going to the frats and they're playing Doja Cat. Like, that's not it. Like, that's not happening. And if it is, nobody's psyched about Doja Cat playing in the frats. I wouldn't recommend. I didn't find it interesting enough and couldn't tell the girls apart. The next book, I don't know if I can really count it, but I'm going to. It's because it's a young adult book, but that is Soul Surfer, Bethany Hamilton's memoir or biography. Which one would it be? Memoir, right? The one that she wrote when she was like 13. I had just rewatched Soul Surfer and I love that movie. That movie is so good, and Bethany Hamilton, like her faith and her bravery were so inspiring to me as a kid and still are. And so I'm like, I should read her book, forgetting that it was written by like a 13-year-old and was made for 13-year-olds. So it took me about an hour to read because it has like these big pictures in it, and it's quite short. But it was very sweet, very endearing. I don't know if I should really count it, but I am. And I didn't even give it a rating because I couldn't, because it was a children's book. Pretty crazy stuff. I mean, it was really cool to read her firsthand account of the shark attack. And fun fact, I watched that movie, that came out in 2011, so I would have been like 7, and that movie is the reason why I am afraid of the ocean. Like, I will swim in the ocean, but if I can't go to aquariums, I'm gonna have a panic attack. I'm gonna have a panic attack. Put me in an aquarium, I have to close my eyes. My next book is the book that everyone and their mothers are currently reading, and that's true because my mother is currently reading it as well, and that is, of course, Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. I was really excited when I heard the premise of this back in like January or something. So I put it on hold at my library like the day it was published or whatever, and I ended up being like 200 in the queue or something. I was like, I'm never getting this book. That's okay. I was debating buying it because I really wanted to read it, but I was like, no, I'll wait like, you know, another 6 months and I'll eventually read Yesteryear because all these people were in front of me. And then randomly I get an email from my library saying that a book I have on hold is available, and I'm thinking it's, I don't know, a different book I placed on hold. And then I see that it's Yesteryear and I'm like, so I like, as soon as I leave work, I go to the library to pick it up because I'm so excited to read it, and I couldn't believe, I felt like I won the lottery, guys. Granted, there's like 80 copies throughout the library cooperative, so I guess it makes sense that it would eventually be my turn, but now there's like 300 people after me waiting for this book. Anyways, I gave Yesteryear a 4 out of 5. This is a dystopian fiction book about a woman who is a trad wife influencer, and then one day she wakes up in the early 1900s actually living a trad wife lifestyle. This is the first book that I read that the narrator is an unreliable narrator, and I thought that was really cool. I thought Burke did a great job with that. I think people wanted it to add more commentary to the trad wife influencer space, specifically critiquing it, and I suppose it did, but that wasn't the main focus, and I'm happy about that. Really, the focus was Natalie, the main character, and her being a complex character dealing with a lot of issues, and her relationships with all these people and her children and her husband, and coming from a religious background and how that translated into her later life. I didn't know how this was gonna end. I had all these theories and I was wrong about all of them, which made it exciting. I was happy with the ending. I would recommend this book. This is a book that I couldn't put down. I read it in 3 days, I think. It's definitely worth the hype. I am not super keen on Anne Hathaway being cast as Natalie, even though I guess like she was part of the writing process. I don't know. I think I just wanted somebody that I didn't recognize to play Natalie. However, we'll see when the movie comes out. We'll see how it fares to the book. Next is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So many popular books. I started Daisy Jones and then I got the email that Yesteryear was available, so I paused to read Yesteryear. Daisy Jones and the Six is about a fictional band called Daisy Jones and the Six, and it's set in like an interview style, going back and forth between all the bands and people around the band's perspectives of what happened during the band's existence. I've seen the show. There's Billy Dunn right there. I've seen the show twice, so I was really excited to read the book. This is another one that was just such a quick read, but really, really fun. This is my first book that I've read from Taylor Jenkins Reid. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. It was just really fun. I know it's not the best descriptive word, but that's how I felt. Like, it was just such a fun read, and these relationships were so interesting, and you really just like dive into the world of like the 70s rock band. Made me want to listen to just only Fleetwood Mac for the next couple of days, which I did. So this was a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. The last book that I read in June was Very Cold People by Sarah Manguso. This book is told from the perspective of a young girl named Ruthie living on the outskirts of Boston, and she tells these like tidbit stories from when she was in elementary school to middle school to high school, and then a little bit beyond that. And it's really just these snippets into her lives, like we're peeking into a window of her life. I was really captured by Manguso's writing immediately. I thought it was very charming. Really just felt enthralled by the descriptions of the towns and the houses and these characters. And then you're caught off guard because Ruthie, the young girl, the narrator, begins talking about abuse, but in a very casual, like, this is just something that happens like to her friends or to her or to her mom. And the book continues to follow Ruthie again as she goes into middle school and high school and recounts some more tales of abuse that she's experienced, that her family and her friends have experienced. It's a very cold book. I don't really feel like I have the words to adequately describe how I felt. It was very intense at times in the ways, not in the description of the abuse, but the repercussions of it, and the way it was just so casual that Ruthie and her friends didn't know what was happening to them and didn't know it was wrong. I was very moved by this book. This is a book that I felt like I really couldn't describe. Not a lot goes on. It's not a plot-driven book. It's a very character, atmospheric-driven book. I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a short 200-page book. It's a book whose characters definitely leave an impression on you afterwards and are lingering in the back of your mind. And those are all the books I read in June. I'm hoping to read at least a few more in July. I'm hoping for like 8 to 10 in July, but I guess we'll see. Beginning of August, maybe I'll come on here and I'll tell you how I did. Let me know if you've read any of these books or are planning to read any of these books and what you've thought of them or what you're reading right now. Give me recommendations, please. If anybody has any good romance recommendations, please let me know. I don't love romantasy and I don't love Emily Henry. Don't shoot me, guys, please. I'm sorry. I read People We Meet on Vacation and I didn't like it. Please. But otherwise, please leave some recommendations below. Okay, bye.